Michael, welcome to Chichester.
Thank you, Lisa.
So this is your first time as director here at Chichester Festival Theatre, and we welcome you. And I'm going to throw open a big question, is how has it been so far?
So far, so good. Yeah, no, Chichester's been great. I first came down to physically see Chichester 2 months ago, something like that.
You hadn't been before?
I hadn't been before, and I wish I had now, because the first thing that struck me was just how pretty Chichester is. I mean, it's like a beautiful place. So just walking around, I'm like, wow, this place is so pretty, you know. So that was great. I wasn't sure how I was going to get back home after kind of living up here. And then, of course,
trains and everything, you know.
Ooh, that'll do it. And then, of course, there's the theatre itself. Being here, and I've got to say, first up, everyone in the theatre, everyone here at Chichester Festival, it's been fantastic. Great staff, really, you feel really well taken care of, welcomed and supported. So that's been absolutely fantastic.
It's been recorded, he has to say that.
I don't get my fee if I don't say this. So that's been great. And also, what's fantastic is actually this space. This space is gorgeous. I mean, the main house is great as well, but the Minerva is pretty special as a theatre space.
We're going to come on to this space, and I do have a question which involves this space. But before I ask you that, I want to ask you what it was that appealed to you about directing the play. So I first made the call to Michael to ask him if he would be interested in directing it. And I also approached you with the news that Lenny had already agreed to play Frank, which is sometimes quite a strange situation to be in for a director. So I want to know, how does that affect a director's decision when you've already got 50% of your cast on board? And what your first thoughts were when I said, are you interested in directing this play? Had you read it before? Did you know it?
Okay, to answer the second question first, I did know. I had read the play, knew it very well, and actually had wanted to do it for quite a while. So I'd already knew it. That was fine. I was doing another project with Lenny at the time when he said, "Oh, you know, I might be doing this, educating Rita," and I was like, "What? What? What?"
So you're saying you had the heads up and I didn't know?
Well, what I'm saying is that when he said that, I was like, "That's my play. I would literally kill to direct that show." And fortunately, I didn't actually have to kill, because I got a call from Lisa asking if I would be interested, to which the answer was a resounding yes. I would love to.
So let's go back to the space then. How do you feel that this style of play works in a thrust stage? And what challenges, if any, did you come across while directing only 2 actors? Not in a proscenium march stage, which this play is often done in a proscenium march. So, those challenges that you came across.
The first thing, of course, is to note that because it is a thrust, you're always playing with someone not seeing someone else in the audience. And the challenge, of course, is to how do you keep the play fluid? How do you keep it visually interesting, despite the fact that it is only 2 people and you are surrounded on 3 sides, as opposed to just having a proscenium production where you can do something different, I should say, not easier. So the main challenge is working, in a thrust stage with only 2 people on stage. That's hard.
Yeah, and I guess in a proscenium march, though, it is easy because you know where your audience is and you know where your angles are. But you've got 3 sides of audience to deal with here. So are you afraid of having an actor show their back to the audience?
No, not at all. I mean, I've done quite a bit of work in the round. I've done quite a lot of work at the Royal Exchange in Manchester, which is in the round. So it wasn't totally an alien concept. I've also done quite a bit of TV, which oddly enough helps when directing in a thrust or in the round, because you've always got the idea
different cameras
of 2 camera angles at all times. So I'm going, well, if they're looking at one thing, they're looking at the opposite. Actually, it's 3, and these people have got like the wide shot. So I'm constantly playing between those pictures, what these guys are seeing, what they're seeing, and what they're seeing over here.
And was it different? How did the actors find it from moving from the rehearsal room into this space? And
I think what's beautiful about the rehearsal room is that we get to a place where we feel really nice and safe, and it's been a little tiny cocoon we're in, and it's great. And the thing I always have to remind my actors at the end of the rehearsals is that once you get onto that space, these walls, which have been very close to us in the rehearsal room, disappear. So suddenly, instead of, acting in a space that's 12 foot across, you're like 40 foot. So we've got to bear in mind that you're going to feel very vulnerable for the first time, especially during tech, when you get on that stage, because it's much bigger. There is no wall, it's all the way back there. So that's one of the main things for actors going from the rehearsal room to the tech, yeah.
So let's talk about the rehearsal room. What do you think the main themes are that you explored within the play?
The play is really, it's about a lot about education, about social mobility, about culture. One of the main things I really love talking about, though, which is what really kind of turns me on in a way about plays, is the relationships. I'm really about the relationships. What's good, the relationship between Rita and Denny, a character we never see. The relationship between Rita and Frank. The relationship between Frank and Julia. Those are the kind of relationships I love talking about and exploring.
So there's lots of relationships you're exploring, yet there's only two people on stage?
Yet there's only two people on stage, which is, in terms of the writing, phenomenal. To be able to keep two people on stage on one set is amazing.
With three sides.
On three sides. That's a real, it's a real testament.
And you just mentioned education.
Yeah.
And in some interviews you've talked about the theme of self-empowerment through education being as pertinent today as it was 35 years ago. Yeah. Can you expand on what you mean by this?
Only in as much as I kind of think that the notion that we should all have a right to education. Education is, for want of a better phrase, is the key, and we are all seeking to better ourselves. That's the idea, and I think without a good education, it's nigh on impossible to make that move. And wrapped up within the whole notion of education and who can get it and who's it for and who's entitled to it. We had loads of discussions around that. And what happens when you get it? What does it mean about you? Have you somehow moved away from where you started? And what does that mean for the people around you? And how do they feel? And how do you feel about possibly moving away from them? So it's really quite multi-layered, even though it's like, well, broad stroke education. Yes, education for everybody is and should be a right,
And Lenny's often talked about in interviews about that he is Rita. Is that right?
Yeah. I think we possibly all three of us feel a bit like Rita. Absolutely. I think
from Liverpool.
From Liverpool, absolutely. Very long hair. Yeah, exactly. Well, in as much as again, you're talking about social mobility. I remember when I started, I was going to be an actor. I was an actor, sorry. Saying to my parents, who really wanted me to go to university and become a journalist, because that's kind of the road that I was on. My mum writes; she's a novelist as well. And I, for whatever reason, decided actually I want to go into theatre and I want to be an actor. I'd seen a youth theatre play when I was about 17 at the Theatre Royal in Stratford. And it was like an eye-opener. I went to this theatre, and there were young people who looked like me, talked like me. They sang, they danced, they made you cry with sadness. And I just thought, I want to do that. I don't think I want to be a journalist. I think I want to do that. With no notion of how to do it, of how does one go about being an actor. There's nothing in my family background that says, I know a route into the theatre. I know there's nothing. But I started in youth theatre and gradually made my way through. Now, the interesting thing is, in terms of, as you gain an education or some form of education, how that changes you. I remember then, after being acting for a few years, going home to my mum, with a bottle of white wine, saying, should we have this? And my mum's like, why do we want to drink that? It's very sour, Mike. And I was like, no, it's dry, Mum. She's like, no, where's the sherry? And suddenly, just little changes, you suddenly go from, your family are all reading the Daily Mirror. And you rock up going, Mum, I just want to read The Guardian. And you're thinking, oh, wow. And it's little tiny things, but it's,
You start mingling with other people from other walks of life.
Absolutely. So, and a form of education. I started reading.
So you didn't go to university?
No.
And you...
But like Rita, I read voraciously everything I could find, especially where theatre was concerned. I read plays, books on theory, actors' biographies, everything. Because one of my first jobs, I was with some Cambridge graduates, and their language was so different to mine, so alien. I just couldn't work out what they were talking about. I had no idea, and I thought, I've got to find out what this is. So I just started reading books that they had read. Anything they referenced, I'd run home and back then to the library, find the book, read it, get the, you know what I mean? So I had an understanding of what the hell it was. And that's how I learned. So that was kind of...
And Lenny was similar, wasn't he? Because he
Yeah.
went into showbiz age 16.
Yeah.
So he grew up feeling he didn't have an education.
Yeah.
And so started, I can't remember what age he was when he did a degree.
Yeah.
Then an MA.
Yeah.
Now he's doing a PhD.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so how much, in rehearsal, how much did you talk about these things? Talk a bit about your rehearsal process, about exploring the dynamic between these two characters. And just, can you talk about how you work? Do you work through improvisation? Do you work through exercises? Can you talk a bit about your approach?
Yeah. I do not work through improvisations or exercises or games. I hate all of that, unfortunately.
Some directors work with beanbags.
Yeah, some directors are they're like, let's throw a bag, and when I throw the bag, you say your name or tell me how you feel about me, or let's play them. We'll have an argument with some matches.
It can work.
It does work. It does work. I mean, when one starts training to be a director, you learn all these skills. One of them is like, we've got some matches in the middle, and we're having an argument. And if you think you've won a point in the argument, you take a match. And then I'll take a match if I think I've won, or if you think you've got 2 points, you'll take my matches away. So you work out what it feels like and who you think's winning the argument, which is great and valid.
But not for you.
But not for me. I would rather say, how do you really feel in this argument? When I've said this, what do you think?
So do you sit around the table talking about the text for a long time? What week do you get up and walk around?
Right, okay. Look, my method is I like to get up really, really early. I always spend the first 2 days talking about the world. So, Liverpool, 1983, what do we know about it? What's the politics of the country at the time? What films are in the cinema? What's the pop music? What's the fashion? You know, what's happening per se in Liverpool? Like, we know when we did this, we knew that 2 years before there'd been the riots. Do you know what I mean? So we fill in lots and lots of information about the world of the piece. Mm-hmm. And it's also a good way, especially with larger casts, not so much with this cast, it's also a way of getting a company feel, because it's a very relaxed atmosphere and everyone feels they have ownership of the rehearsal room, of the rehearsal process, and everyone gets to chip in. Mm-hmm. So they all feel like, right, we've all added to whatever this thing is we're making. I then like to get up pretty early and start working just with the text, because I think everything I need is in there. Everything. And
do you ask the actors to learn it before they come in, or to learn it through the process?
Learn it through the process is always a good idea.
And what are the pros and cons of that, of not learning it all? Because this is a lot of text to learn, and it's just two of them on stage. So what are the pros and cons of coming in, not knowing it, and having to get up on day 2 and move around, versus knowing it? And
I think it's very rare that someone rocks up on the first day of rehearsal without knowing it. I think generally people have a good sense of what it is. Of the
material, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, what they won't have is what it feels like to hear the other line coming back at you. Because you know what you're like, you've been rehearsing in your kitchen for weeks on end, which actors will do anyway. But when you get into the rehearsal room and you hear the answer come back, it might not come back how you've heard it or how you've rehearsed it. So it's good to have a knowledge of the script, but then a lot of work will happen. But be open to... Absolutely, be open.
Interpretation.
Yeah. And if you haven't, and if you come and try and do literally everything on the first day, you might find that as you get towards the end of the rehearsal period, it starts to feel a bit pressurised. But generally, because of the process, it will happen.
And in terms of collaborating, that's the actors, and collaborating with the design team.
Yeah.
How does that come about? Ellen, who designed it, does she come to you with, this is my idea, this is how I want to do it, and that's it? Or do you discuss a vision together? How does that work? We discuss a vision together, basically. Basically, I kind of throw in my things. I think Gothic, and it goes, great, but what about this? And we start piecing together with visual references what this might look like. Myself and Ellen and Joe Town, we did a play at the Royal Exchange in Manchester called Raisin in the Sun. And it's interesting how we come to the same point, but from different places. And I remember saying to Ellen, there's a colour palette I've always wanted to use, and I think this production is the perfect
scenario for it to work. And she said, interesting enough, Mike, because reading the play, I've got a colour palette in mind. So Ellen came over to my house, and we kind of getting books out and stuff. And I said, the colour palette I'm thinking of. And I ran upstairs to get this old paperback novel, Pulp Fiction paperback novel I had that was upstairs in the study. And I came back down, and just as she was taking out her reference, and they were both the same, except my colour reference was a paperback novel. I'm saying these colours, these muted colours, this is what I want to do it in. And she went, these are my colours, and hers were Picasso's blues. Yeah. So they were the same thing. And that's kind of how we've been, and that's kind of how we've been working over the years. Similarly, with Joe Town, who does the lighting, we say, Joe comes to me and says, Mike, she always goes, the sun's coming from this way, it's through the window, what do you think? And I'm like, okay, that's great. And we always get to a place where I go, can I have a light on there? She goes, but the light wouldn't come from there. I was like, I know. But let's, So
you should listen to her.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is we still come to the same picture. Yeah. Similarly with Jack Arnold, who's done the sound. We started off going, it's pop music. And I was sitting at home one day and I thought, I don't know about pop music, Jack. And he went, jazz is me, I think jazz. And then he came with the song, I came with the song. He came with two, and I went, yeah, I like those ones. What about this? And then we kept going until we've got the soundtrack you'll hear tonight.
And how far? So we're in our final preview tonight, and the press come in tomorrow night. So how far into the process are you still doing notes, changing things, reblocking, changing the lights?
Actually, we are still tweaking. We are still minor bits of reblocking. We're working on scene change stuff still happening. Bits of sets still being.
So if you've been to see it, you might want to come back.
Yeah, so we are still working. I mean, I think it's theatre. There's always going to be something else. Oh, maybe I can do it like that. Oh God, I can do it like that. I found something else, and
And presumably the actors throughout will find that things aren't quite working in the space.
Yeah, or they may find new things.
Yeah.
Suddenly they might go, oh my goodness, this is that. That's the reason I do that.
And what would you say then has been the biggest challenge of the play, or challenges if there were many?
Well, I think we touched on them before. I think the idea of keeping two people in a room with an audience on three sides is pretty challenging, I think luckily we've got two fantastic actors. I mean, that is you've got a great script and two cracking actors who've got great chemistry, I think.
That's fortunate. If they didn't get on, it wouldn't be much fun, would it?
It would, yeah. It could be pretty grim.
And just before I'm going to open it out into questions, I just want you to say, Michael, tell me if there's a line in the text which you think sums up the play for you.
I was really, there are so many good lines in there, and I was like, God, this one, no. And I couldn't think of one that summed up the play. But then I found it's not one line, it's actually two. And I think Frank says to Rita...
Block your ears if you don't want to hear this.
Oh, don't worry, there's loads of them. Frank says to Rita, have you ever seen Chekhov in the theatre? And Rita says, no, does he go? And I think that sums it up. Because
you just ruined a joke.
Yeah, but there's loads more.
Does anybody have any questions? I can't actually see anything. Gentleman over there? With your arm up. Yes, waving. You. What's your name?
My name's Greg. I want to ask a question of Michael about the role that Willie Russell plays in supporting or working alongside you. Because a living author, you're working with someone who's around who might have views about the preciousness of the script and so on. So how does that work for you?
Willie's been great. I met him for the first time a few weeks before we went to rehearsals started.
Just before that, actually, before you came on board, I can say that Willie was very much on board from the beginning in terms of having to go to him to get the rights, Willie had casting, not approval, but everything was run by him, director approval, so he was there from the very, very off. I think there's always theatres that want to do this play, and so at the time there was a conversation because Liverpool were going to put it on just before this production, and it was, is that going to be a problem for us? Obviously, it's a different audience, so it's not a problem. So he was on board very early on, and then Michael met him.
And then I met him, and he was great. And the one thing he did say to me is, Mike, I'm completely supportive. It's your production. And we've had a few snips here and there in the script, purely for time. And, you know, you run it by Willie and he'll either go, yeah, or no. And it's kind of as simple as that. And you kind of go, fine. And I wanted to cut, you know, he said to me, Michael, cut this bit here, because by week 3, you'll be going, it's a bit too long. And you know something, at the end of week 2, I was on the phone going, Willie, you know what you said about week, yeah, okay, cut it, thank you, okay. So he's been great.
And he came to the
rehearsals,
read through, and then he came again to the last rehearsal, the last run through in the rehearsal room, and so still had notes then.
He gave us loads of notes,
but hasn't seen it since. So when he comes back from France,
we shall see.
Let's hope he's got no more notes.
I was just wondering about timescales. Like, when did you have the idea that you'd like to do the production, and then how long was it till you get the how long did they have rehearsed?
It was, I had the idea probably October last year. And it was the idea to do it, for Lenny to do it. So going to Willie to get the rights was very much Chichester with Lenny in the role of Frank. But actually from the idea in October to Lenny knowing what his schedule was like and whether he could, if his son was I don't think we confirmed Len till January this year or something.
Can you describe the process of casting Rita? Because you've got Lenny Henry, megastar. Was it, for instance, always decided she should be black as well? And it must be awesome for any actress to come in and play opposite Lenny Henry.
Yeah.
She was quite nervous in her first audition, wasn't she?
Yeah. Well, first up, I think it was decided that Rita was going to be black. I think that was the decision that was made first up. The auditions were great. We saw quite a few from very good Ritas. Yeah,
we saw quite a lot of people actually who came in and went through the normal casting process of who's the right actress for this job. Saw lots of people. Michael and I saw first rounds of auditions, and then we narrowed it down to a few who came in to read with Lenny to see who bounced, how they bounced off each other. And actually, Lashana, who's playing it, walked in the room. And I'd known Lashana's work for a few years, actually, and worked with her. But Lenny and Michael hadn't met her before, and when she left the room, they were like, it'll be her then, yes? She did. She walked into her out of audition exactly how Rita walks into a room,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued with Willie Russell was so involved. Has he gone along with all the other different versions of Educated?
I think so.
Yeah.
And did he ask you a lot of questions about what your version would be directed?
I think that the things he asked me were, are we going to keep it in 1980s? Does Rita have to have a Liverpool accent? He said, are you going to go for the accent or not? And I think those are the two big ones. And I said yes to both. I think with any living playwright, that with such an iconic piece as this, they always want to be involved. If their production's going on, especially somebody like Willie, it's very important to him to know what the take on that production will be. But he hasn't sort of interfered in that way. Once he knew and he was happy, then that was, he was fine.
So you weren't stressed out
No,
then?
he was brilliant, and he was really helpful. And because, a writer like that knows the play so intimately, he knew to say, page 51, because he's heard it so many times. And, when you write something, when you revisit something over and over again, you know where its downfalls are and where it comes up and what's the tricky bit, and,
Yes, can I please ask my very simple question? I apologise, because everyone else here will know the answer to this, but what does reblocking mean?
Reblocking.
Question.
Okay, so blocking is basically where the actors are moving to on the stage. Frank walks to the door, he sits at the desk, Rita comes in, he gets up, Rita walks to the window, Frank joins her at the window. That's called blocking. And if for any reason that blocking doesn't work, we re-block it. So we go, instead of Frank coming in and sitting, can Frank go to the window first, and can Rita sit at the chair? And then when Frank sees her, can he go and stand at the chair while she goes to the window?
It sounds like it's not a very organic experience, but it is. But it's just, in a space like this, there are basics that have to be acknowledged. Otherwise, you know, that side of the audience might say, I've had Lenny's back all night and I couldn't, you know. Yeah. So what happens in the first rehearsal, first run through in the rehearsal room, which I went to, I was able to say to Michael, I sat here and like this wasn't working for me. I wasn't getting that expression, and so you just, you know, it's almost like choreographing the moves. Yeah. And so if you reblock it, you have to reblock it because it's not worked. Good one.
There's a lady here.
I can't see anything. Sorry.
It is an iconic play, and with the demographic of the Chichester audience, probably everyone has seen Michael Caine and Julie Walters. How difficult is it to do your own production and not be covered by theirs, or do you use bits of it, or how do you approach?
Have you seen the film?
Well, I've never seen the film.
That's how you do it.
So, yeah, and also, you know, it's you just do your production.
And it was a play first.
And it was a play before it was a film. So that's its strength. I mean, I read it before I'd seen, you know, any clip of Michael Caine doing this.
I think that's more a question for the actors, isn't it, as well, I guess, because it's them seeing how they do it. But also, the film isn't a two-hander. There's lots of, you know, other people that come into it. So I suppose the tension and relationship is very different when the people you're talking about are off stage.
Yeah. But in answer to the demographic of Chichester, you know, because a lot of people would have seen the Michael Caine film, I'd love to know what you think when you finish. You know, you might come out going, wow, who's Michael Caine? In a respectful way.
This is not a question but a comment. I saw the dress rehearsal and I saw the second preview, and I think it is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't got a ticket, kill to get one.
That's great. Good advert over there. We'll put you out with a sandwich board outside, shall we? And do you notice a difference then between the dress rehearsal and the second preview?
Not greatly, no.
Oh, we did a lot of work. Come to the last night and let me know what you think. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
There's a question up there.
Yes, I can see.
Do you see Frank as a successful educationist?
Is he a good teacher?
As a teacher?
I think Frank is probably a better teacher than he realises. Yeah, I think that's what I think. I think Frank has stopped. He's become cynical, you know. And Rita comes along, she's enthusiastic and full of hope and optimistic, and reignites a passion in him, you know. But I think he's successful.
Do you know the play?
I remember it.
Oh. Do you think? Oh, right. Okay. I'll ask you after you've seen it then. If you think he's a good teacher, he educates Rita.
Yeah.
Well, that's the secondary question. Does she really get an education?
Well.
Yeah. I think so. In a very He does. You know, she learns. She passes. She takes the exam.
Yes.
Become, you know.
But you're right. That's the play, isn't it? Does she get an education?
Yeah. Of sorts.
Were you tempted to update it?
No.
Or were you happy with it in the 80s?
No. I wanted to keep it in the 80s. There is a newer version, but I definitely wanted to keep it in the 80s. I wanted to keep it in the 80s for the clothes, the costume. I think the references are better if we keep it in the 80s. I think it gives us that thing of, because it's in the past, you get kind of a retrospective view on it that's as pertinent today as opposed to just doing it now. So for those reasons, I definitely wanted to keep it where it was first written, I should say. Oh, there's one there. Oh.
It's Greg again.
Can I ask another question? Because I'm slightly confused.
Oh.
Michael's the director.
Yeah.
Lisa, you're the creative director.
Creative producer.
Creative producer. Okay. So could you tell us a bit more about what creative producer role is, other than you were
producing in a creative manner? That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me. I thought I got away with it for all these years. So I'm involved with Jonathan here, choosing, programming the theatre, coming up with ideas for the Minerva and the Festival Theatre, putting together once we've chosen the plays or musicals, putting together creative teams, and then just overseeing the creative side of it, really, and being supportive in that respect. My background, actually, years ago was in casting, so I did end up casting this one, but I don't normally. Does that answer your question?
Who designed the set then? Put it like that. Is it you or...
No. I'm not a designer at all. I just talk a lot.
The set was designed by Ellen Cairns.
Ellen Cairns.
Ellen Cairns designed the set. Yeah.
Oh, God, they're all coming in now.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on, the gentleman who hasn't had a question.
Just secondly, I saw the one in Liverpool earlier this year.
Oh.
So quite excited to see this
Oh,
one.
God, we've got a genuine Liverpudlian in.
Pressure!
As a Scouser, how easy do the actors get the Liverpool accent? Because I've heard lots of not very good Liverpool accents.
Well, you better tell us, when are you in? Right, see you later.
Well, yeah, we'll catch up later.
Well, look, Willie thought the accent was great. And Lashana's worked incredibly hard. And she's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you'll be the judge of that. Actually, I've got to go back to London. Gentleman with the blue shirt.
You explained casting for Rita, so I understand that process. And without wishing to put Michael out of work or anything, but how did you select the director? Because I mean, they're very influential in how they approach different plays. So why Michael?
Well, I'd seen Michael's work.
Respect.
Part of my job is to see productions all the time, all over the place, and I'd seen a few things Michael had done. And when I talked through with Lenny a couple of ideas of directors, as Michael said, they were already developing a show together at the National, and so had a relationship with him already. So we sat and had a chat about it, and it just sort of evolved, really, through that.
Can we finish with this question here from a youth centre member?
How much do you think you would have changed if it hadn't been like a three-sided, but just been straight on?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Because the whole thing changes. Because the beauty of this, I think, it's great working in the thrust. I enjoy working in the thrust and in the round almost more than I do in the pros. Because on one level, it's incredibly freeing. Because your actors are not continually have to walk, that way. They can walk all around. And when you turn it's a bit of a challenge. If you had to turn this back into a pros now, it's a bit of a challenge. We'll have to tweak a few things.
Proscenium arch, proscenium arch.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Jargon.
Yes, I work in a theatre engineer. So, to go back to a proscenium arch, it would take a little bit of tweaking. We might probably turn everything that way. Usually solves the problem.
Of course, quite a few shows transfer to the West End from Chichester. And most of those would then have to go into, more often than not, a proscenium arch space in London. So that challenge does happen when shows... So the Taken by Midnight that happened here last year, that went into a West End theatre, so had to be redirected, reblocked for the proscenium arch.
Yeah. I've also recently done an Arthur Miller production of All My Sons, which started off in the round at the Exchange and then went on tour to all Pros Arch theatres. So that had to be reblocked again. But yeah, it's doable. Absolutely, yeah.
I think we're going to finish there.
Okay.
Just a really big, huge thank you to both of you for this.
Can I just say, I'm sorry Willie's not here, but there is a rather brilliant interview with him in the programme if you're coming. So grab one of these and you can read what he really thinks.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Mark.